Outsiders, we have a couple of announcements for you today. First of all, if you can't get enough of interacting with us on Twitter and you want to get to know us more, or if you don't have a Twitter and you feel like you've been missing out, no worries, because now we have a Discord server that is Gotham Outsiders Batcave. You can come and hang out with us and talk all things Batty. We also now have a Patreon and a Ko-fi. Thanks to our incredibly generous listeners who've already supported, we started these two ways for you to give a little to the show if you want to help support us. Our material is always going to be free for everyone and available, but we do also have costs of this show. So if you want to kick some money over to us, we'll appreciate it. Patreon is for regular donations, and then Ko-fi is for you if you want to give us a few dollar tip here and there. You can find both of those links at allmylinks.com/Gotham Outsiders, where you can find everything you need for the show. Thanks again. Hello, and welcome to the Gotham Outsiders, our Batman book club. Hiding in the secret 13th floor of your apartment building right now, I'm your host, Bat Obsessive Chris. And awaiting the special episode where we awaken him as a Talon sleeper agent, my co-host, TJ, a Bat Acolyte.
Hello, everyone. I am your Chris proclaimed Batman Acolyte.
But no cabal of bird-themed baddies is complete without a special guest, so we have invited Emily Martin, comic illustrator.
Hello.
Yay. Hello.
Hello.
Hello,
Greetings.
Emily.
Emily, this is our first time meeting. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
I've heard your voice, but this is the first time meeting almost face to face.
Right?
Emily and I frequently either host together or rotate host the other podcast that we're on, which is the Progressively Horrified podcast. So we're sometimes together and we're sometimes replacing each other.
I'm evil Chris.
Yes. I'm already evil Chris, so I guess we're both evil Chris's.
Oh shit.
And today, Emily picked Batman, the Jiro Kuwata Batmanga, Volume 1 by Jiro Kuwata. Emily, what made you pick this book?
Well, there's a lot that is unsaid about the Japanese origin of Batman. Not to suggest that, we know where Batman came from, and that his parents died and everything. But
pearls.
Yes, all the pearls. But the Batmanga I actually discovered a couple years ago when they started printing the Batmanga as sort of a historical guide about the place that Batman had in Japanese pop culture in the 60s and 70s, which was a big time for TV, anime, and shows and stuff with Ultraman and 8-Man and a lot of other mans. There were mans everywhere, and Batman was one of them. And I can't remember if the Japanese Batman predated the Japanese Spider-Man, but there is a rich history of Japanese takes on American superheroes, which is fascinating. And Jiro Kuwata was a comic artist of sort of the classic manga age, and he's also one of the main artists of 8-Man, which not a lot of I only know about 8-Man because my old comic shop back in Sacramento, World's Best Comics, fantastic place. You could find their booths at cons when we have cons again. But the owner of the shop had all of these 8-Man tapes that he would play behind the counter, and that's how that was basically my 60s superhero education, at least on the Japanese side of the Pacific Ocean. There's other places on that side of the Pacific Ocean, though. I should mention that. Anyway, so yeah, I've read the book and I was delighted by it, and I wanted to talk about it because there's this shared history. This book is from 1967.
Yeah.
And there's sort of a manga renaissance going on right now. I should say a manga history renaissance where a lot of older books are being published. And of course, they're not really selling as well as stuff like the My Hero Academia and the really, really popular stuff for like the Shonen Jump kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But nerds like me and old comicers really eat this stuff up, and I'm really happy to talk about it today.
No, I was gonna say I'm also so excited to talk about it. But before we do, we have our returning segment, Bat Trivia. Now, Emily, would you call yourself an expert in anime and manga?
I hesitate, but I'll accept it.
Okay. As far as guests on this show, I think you do count as an expert.
Okay, cool.
Now, TJ, would you say that you know more or less about anime than you do Batman?
I do not know very much about anime at all outside of the Bat manga. And that's not even anime.
Okay. So again, this game is definitely not rigged against you. But the first question.
I watched some Naruto back in the day.
There you go. The first
that helps. Yeah.
The first question that I have for you today. So there's some resistance to the idea of retelling Batman as a manga or as an anime that they've more recently been done. However, I think that Batman was basically tailor-made to be an anime character. So, can you name reasons why Batman is an ideal anime character?
Well, he is a martial artist.
Yes.
He's broody.
Yes.
Is that an anime thing?
I mean,
Birdie?
You tell me.
I mean, there is Birdie the Mighty, but
he's broody, I think is what
maybe
he's
I'm thinking
broody.
Broody.
Yes, he is brooding. He is a many times depicted as a bishonen.
Yes.
He also has a transformation.
Yes.
Although I think that that's a missed opportunity in terms of animation. We have not seen a magical transformation of Batman. I am waiting.
I am picturing him doing the Sailor Moon twirl now, and it's delighting me.
Yeah. Someone has to have done that, but
I will find it.
He has no parents. Is that an anime trope?
It can be. Yeah.
I'll take it.
In my mind, I'm like, Naruto didn't have parents.
Yes, TJ, how is Batman like Naruto?
Do they both do the Naruto ninja run?
Do they?
On like rooftops at night?
I hope so.
I have not seen Batman do that, but if someone also, if you listen to this podcast, at me, Megamoth on Twitter, please at me with that, or at Chris at Gotham Outsiders, because I would love to see that.
Yes, please. If somebody has drawn that or wants to draw that, we would be delighted.
Oh, I have one.
Okay.
He has the batarangs that are kind of like ninja stars.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
so
take
he
That's
is
all I got.
credited as a ninja, and there's a lot of ninjas in anime.
I know there's a Batman anime movie.
There is, yeah.
Yes. Which I believe I might be wrong on this, so Google it. I'm not cheating. I think it's Madhouse or somebody, some big anime studio did the Batman anime that came out recently.
Yes. All right. You're 3 for 3. Emily, any other reasons why Batman would make a good anime character?
He has kind of a nebulous past that is based in tragedy and changes a lot depending on who decided to write it.
Yes, 100%. TJ, any more? You got any more?
The League of Shadows is kind of ninja. That's all. No, I don't have anything.
Yes. I mean, you've already said ninjas, but I appreciate you trying to make it work a second
I
time.
know. I'm grasping at straws.
I mean, he can be kind of gay sometimes.
Yes.
Is that an anime trope?
Absolutely.
Yes. Gayness is only an anime, TJ.
I need to watch more anime, apparently.
Oh my God. That's my scroll of animes that are just queer all through.
Yeah. You know what? I did watch Yuri on Ice one time.
There you go.
Yeah. That's pretty gay.
All right. Well, Emily, unsurprisingly, you won that question. I was also accepting the answer that he is extra as fuck.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, he really is. Just so extra. All right. I have for you our first ever multiple choice question. Okay. Yes. How can you name which of these actors were up for the role of Batman that later played other superheroes? Josh Brolin, who played Thanos, or supervillains, I should say. Okay. Henry Cavill, who played Superman. Jake Gyllenhaal, who played Mysterio, or Heath Ledger, who played Joker. Yes.
Was it Jake Gyllenhaal?
I'm also going, damn it. Can I also say Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yes.
Okay.
You were both right and wrong. The answer is all of the above.
Okay.
I just wanted Jake Gyllenhaal to be Batman.
So, Chris, did we both get a point on that one, or did neither of us get a point?
I guess you both got a point because you were right. He was. It's just that all of them were. So
okay,
I'll allow it. So we'll have to do so Emily currently has 2. TJ, you have 1. Woo. So our final question is another creative challenge. So we've had amazing villains in the Bat manga, which we're going to talk about, and I want you to come up with your own in the vein of the Bat manga.
I don't know why my mind went here, but automatically I was like Spaghetti and Meatball Man. Like, I don't know, like he's coated in a layer of ground beef and like his arms can turn into noodles and he can like kind of like Mr. Fantastic and whip you around. And maybe he got his powers from like going to Olive Garden and eating their buffet, or like, I don't know, like they're all you can eat spaghetti and meatballs.
I love it.
I feel like that's something that would happen.
I love it. That was perfect.
Thanks,
that is very Power Rangers-esque, like the putties. I am going to just put some words together like a crazy person.
Yes.
And I'm going to make up Queen Flash, who is a photographer who has been irradiated by super bright flash bulb technology because it's the 60s and you know, everything's radioactive, and now she can blind people and also remember, she has photographic memory.
I love this.
And so she's like really good at sneaking. I don't know, because she knows everything. If she can just look at it once, and then, you know, if the cops or whatever show up, then she blinds them by just like illuminating her entire body, which is of course decked in super shiny metal.
Love it,
because it refracts her luminous skin somehow, because she designed a super powerful suit made out of 1,000 million billions and billions of tiny mirrors that are the size of atomic particles.
Those were
really good.
Those were both beautiful, so you both get a point for that one.
Excellent.
However, Emily got the first question all to herself, which means she has 3 to your 2. Emily, you win!
Yay, I win something. This is cool.
That was such a good answer. I was waiting for you to be like something with developing photos taking a long time. Like, she can pull up any memory, but it takes a little while to show up.
She has to like shake really hard.
Right.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, on that note, I think we're all just like gearing to go. Let's jump into the Batmanga.
Yes, Spaghetti and Meatball Man is ready to get into that meat.
Queen
meat
Flash.
Of the story.
It's not a euphemism.
So I gotta say, right off the bat, my notes for this one are just a heart eye emoji.
No pun intended.
Yeah, usually I have like really deep, well, you know, my definition of very deep thoughts. But for this one, I was just enjoying myself.
I was too. I was giggling the whole time. This was fun.
This book is so bananas.
So weird.
So yeah, if you're a fan of the Adam West Batman, this is what this is based on.
Yes. And we just read Caped Crusade, so like we're very familiar with Adam West right now.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, because that's honestly like, I think I'm equally familiar with the Michael Keaton movie and the Adam, although my memories of the Adam West Batman were dim, but they were like very, very formative in my life. And then I can't remember, all I remember are like the memes from the Dark Knight movies and the soundtrack of Batman Forever. But yeah, most of my Batman knowledge is based in TV or movies. So even the Batman animated series I saw a little bit of. But it was a bit relieving that I didn't have to indoctrinate myself into all of this Batman lore, because that's one thing about these superhero comics that I have trouble with is I'd rather just have somebody like you guys dictate the story to me, like tell me about it, because it's just such a deep ocean of content that I don't know where to dive in. But with the Batmanga, I mean, they do dive in the deep end immediately, but the only knowledge you need is that there's a Batman and a Robin, and they're Bruce Wayne and Dick
Grayson.
Thank you. I was going to say Dick Johnson. That's not his name.
Dick Johnson, his alter ego.
Yeah, that's his later in life, that's his stage name. But
when he wants both of his names to mean penis.
Yeah.
I think anyone could read this book and enjoy themselves, but I've been rewatching or watching for the first time the Adam West recent cartoons that are on HBO Max, and having just watched those and now reading this, like I had so much more fun with it, because as they're like chasing people and hitting people, I'm hearing the sound effects and the music, and I feel like you would miss that if you hadn't been exposed to anything Adam West.
Yeah,
well, it definitely has that very campy feel to it. Although things do get dark.
Like the last, we'll get there when we get there, but the last adventure is like weirdly dark.
But from what I read, apparently Lord Deathman,
my favorite,
not Go-Go the Magician.
I do love Go-Go the Magician. We'll have a whole debate over which one of those characters is gayer.
Between
Go-Go and Lord Deathman?
It's hard to decide.
I'm gonna go with Go-Go. I'm gonna have to go with
Go-Go. I was telling Chris, I Googled Lord Deathman, and his description that popped up was like a Gotham City gangster who is good at yoga, and I lost it.
Okay, well, when you put it that way, now I'm conflicted. Like,
right? I just his whole look. So I had no idea what to expect from this. I mean, I knew it was Adam West inspired. I understood that, I thought, until I got to the introduction of Lord Deathman, and I just lost my mind laughing.
I love how the villains get away like 5 times every single time.
He is stumped all the time. It's very entertaining.
It is very like cartoony, like blast. He went out the door, or in this case, he died. Deathman's like whole ability to just be like, and now I am dead, and everyone's like, well.
That is it. His ability is to play possum, and that entertains me so much.
Yeah, which like the yoga thing doesn't really come into it until later, and he's sort of like, you never see his face, and which makes him a little bit more creepy because he has like this horrible, screamy skeleton face, which is very spooky when it comes to everything else, like all of the very clean lined kind of, Hanna-Barbera. Like it's somewhere between like a Osamu Tezuka, like Astro Boy comic and the original like Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
It made me think of Speed Racer.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Me
like
too. Robin looks just like him.
I thought so too. I was like, and it also has just a similar storytelling vibe to it.
Yeah, well, a lot of the 70s, 60s and 70s anime was very like, I mean, it was all over the top, of course, but the staple of that, a lot of that anime, especially in the 60s, was it was over the top, and then there was some sort of like intense science fiction element,
right?
And then maybe a kid, like that was
all
that
present and accounted for here. Yes.
Yeah. And although Robin is a little bit more than just like what's the name of the kid in Speed Racer who lives in the trunk with Chim Chim?
What is his name? It's been so long.
Anyway, that kid, you know who I'm talking about.
I do know.
I like the art style in this book. It's just so cute.
It's so good, and it has this like really dynamic quality of movement to it that made me realize that so much of what we're reading with the current comics does not have a feeling of movement most of the time.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
That's another thing about 60s manga, is that, you know, these comics were originally printed in black and white, and they were also printed on like really, for lack of a better word, shitty paper. I mean, it's still print comics, like Shonen Jump comics in Japan, on very, very cheap paper, and usually the paper is like a green or a pink or something like that. It's like slightly toned. And so it's made to look to have good contrasts and be bold and and have like an economy of line and stuff like that. And Osamu Tezuka, who is often credited as sort of the godfather of manga, was also an animator. So he was combining animation and comics. So that's where a lot of anime kind of comes from, or I should say not anime, but the manga comes from this idea of it's going to be an anime or it's going to be animated. Yeah. So the artists will essentially storyboard on a page. One of the interesting things about the Batmanga, though, that doesn't usually happen in a lot of comics, unless you're like reading Winsor McCay like Little Nemo and Slumberland, is that the panels are numbered.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why that is, other than the fact that maybe they were printing it up and they wanted to separate, or they were trying to convince American editors or something that, this is how you read it.
That's what I wondered too, especially I haven't read a manga in quite a while, so I had to kind of remember, the reading direction, and I was like, oh, hey, it's numbered.
Did either of you read it digitally?
I did, yeah.
No, I have it in a book.
I did digital, and it was so nice because I could go from panel to panel, and I didn't have to, I was swiping the way we usually read, and it still worked. So I got to skip all the hard part.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to say, I used to be so into anime and manga, but I haven't in a while. I need to get back into it. I actually really enjoy it, but it just hasn't been my thing for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a huge medium.
Yeah. I feel like it's hard to break it, much like you were saying about how you feel about comics. I feel the same way about like manga, where it's hard to like know where to start, but once you're in it, you're in it.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of the older manga, actually, there's a lot of stuff that is incredibly groundbreaking. That is like one shots and stuff like that. Like Tezuka did Unico, which is a story about a unicorn that could grant wishes, and there's movies of it. It's fantastic. But like and then there's series that are maybe like 3 or 4 volumes. but it's also really interesting because you have this kind of bold art style that's very cartoony, and then you have subject matter that's super dark.
Yeah.
And it's where I think that the Batmanga works so well, is that you have this very cartoony style, but the story can get a little bit darker and get a little heavier. Maybe not as like heavy as Long Halloween or whatever.
I was gonna say, we've been in the dark side of Batman for a while. This was like a breath of fresh air.
Exactly. Like, that's how I feel about it too. Where I'm, you look at Batman these days and you think it's gonna be like, you hear Christian Bale like breathing in your ear, and someone says Batman, and then you think like, where is she? And
I loved his crooked ears in this book. They made me so happy.
They're so cute.
And his eyebrows.
His little eyebrows.
Oh yeah.
I
love the part where a girl hits on Bruce and Robin calls her an old hag.
That happens like right off the bat too.
I was like, this is why people think they're gay.
He immediately got defensive.
I know, he was so defensive.
And that is an anime trope where someone, because it's very rude to call somebody like an older woman something like it. What I assume that the translation was, because it's usually how it comes across, is that he calls her something like auntie, or something that is translated roughly as old lady. Oba-san is a common one. And that it's sort of it's not something that you say to somebody, but it may be something that you say about them.
Right. He says it right to her face.
Yeah. And that's another thing about the books too, is that that Bruce and Dick have such character, and they're just kind of like, there are moments where Bruce is like a little bit broody, especially with the Lord Deathman. And then Robin still has he's kind of full of beans and spunk. Like, he's like, I'm gonna get him too. I'm gonna avenge you, Batman. And but it, like, all in all, it's so wholesome. Like,
it is really wholesome.
Yeah.
What did you think of their dynamic in this? Because I feel like this is a very different Bruce and Dick dynamic than we're used to seeing.
I'm not as familiar so much with the Bruce and Dick dynamic. Although I'd love to say those words together some more. But I felt like it was sort of, it was familial in a way, but and also kind of a little bit of that partnership. And they did have Batman call Robin chum.
Yes, so that's what I was gonna say. Like, there's a much more of a chummy vibe to this than the father-son vibe we usually get.
He calls him that all the time in the Adam West show.
Which also had that. I feel that similarly does not feel like a father-son dynamic like they do in the comics.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, Chris, did you think they had a father-son relationship here?
Here, not really. Like, I mean, I think technically he's his ward, whatever the hell that is. But they really don't. They're partners. And I just swear I don't mean that sexually, but
no. But I mean, as when I was reading this, like, there's the Dick getting defensive. They go on vacation together. He casually comes in Bruce's room at night.
Yeah, it's definitely way more obvious why people thought it was gay.
Right.
Yeah.
Which they've done like a very effective job of getting rid of any vibe of that in the current comics, where it's like very much more father-son. But here I was like, I see. I see what you all were getting at.
Right. Yeah, it did have that. I mean, that was something that I felt carried over from the Adam West thing. And then also, you have dudes hanging out, and you also you do have the master student a lot. And in this case, I feel like that was more just read, like that was also implied. The fact that he would get the Robin would get defensive, and he was on the vengeance quest and stuff like that. And he also came in and helped Batman a lot more than I remember him ever doing in my life, which I appreciated a lot, because usually, classically I feel like Robin is sort of a gag character. He's developed into something a lot more mature and nuanced over the many decades of his existence. But in this book, he, even with the old Robin suit, which was also one of the reasons that people were like, I don't know about that.
Right.
He's still read as functional, a functional character, a functional hero. He was.
I think so too. I think it's also, it helps that this is the least like know-it-all of all the Batmans that we've read, at least, where he has to think things through. He doesn't immediately seem to know everything.
And he gets bested often.
Like every time. I actually found that really amusing. I was like, wow, it's kind of fun to watch Batman fail this frequently.
I'm pretty sure Robin got hurt like in every single, I'm going to call them episodes. And then you have Batman going, Robin.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he gets so minorly hurt. And then Bruce
One
gets
time
hurt.
He got the shit beat. Was it the ball man that just beat the shit out of Robin?
He really did. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Bruce pretty frequently gets hurt in this too, which is also something I was like, huh. He's like,
I loved when Bruce got like deathly hurt almost, and Robin went to avenge him, which we mentioned. I liked that part a lot.
I do too.
Yeah. To answer your trivia question, between this why Batman is a good anime character.
Yeah.
And this is a comparison between Batman and Naruto, aside from the whole ninja aspect.
Yes.
Is that both the Hokage of the Village of Leaves or whatever and Batman have their likenesses carved into the nearby cliffs.
Right.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I have forgotten about that too. That was so wild.
Yeah. And that was just like, oh, he's over there. And that giant statue, this giant cliff face monument of me.
I was trying to imagine any of the like modern Batman characters, like Christian Bale having like a monument.
I'm looking through my notes, and I have a note about the note that was left in the coffin for Batman. And like throughout the book, every villain leaves him a note at one point.
They do. Yeah. They're such good pen pals.
Cracks me up.
Yes, you literally texted me when you got to that note, and we're just like, this is the best.
It was so funny.
I also really I cackled in the courtroom scene when they capture Lord Deathman and he just dies in the court.
Worst power ever.
It's so funny though. Everyone was like, oh, huh.
I mean, yeah, like I feel like that's kind of like, I was thinking about it, but it's one of those things that's so ridiculous that it comes right back around to kind of amazingly intelligent. Because like if you can feign death, of course this is at the level of technology and what should I say?
Questionable cultural awareness.
Yeah, questionable cultural awareness and allowance of the suspension of disbelief.
Yeah,
that was prevalent in like pulp fiction of the 60s and stuff. But the feigning your own death in front of a judge, and deemed dead in front of a judge, I'm thinking like, that's kind of genius. Like
it is.
If you can do that, I'm waiting again. Now, again, I'm putting this out there. With the Naruto run, Batman Naruto run, there's 1. Transformation, there's 2. 3, yes. Batman, Lord Deathman, bring him into the movie and have him just fake his death a bunch.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah,
I love him. He's my favorite villain in this entire volume. I loved him so much.
Really?
I think he's also in the American comics.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it was Grant Morrison who introduced him.
Probably.
He's in Batman Incorporated, which I just read recently.
From what I read on the Wikipedia, so grain of salt there, but
right.
the Lord Deathman was in a very early Batman comic.
Yeah.
But he didn't do the same stuff as far as I can tell. It certainly had a different whole situation than this guy who like is good at yoga and can bury himself in feigned death. And then although that bit where he like had the all of his henchmen were just like
pictures
pieces of cloth. I thought that was, I mean, you think about that could be a thing.
Yeah, it's all razzle dazzle with him. Everything is showmanship, right?
Yeah.
And he really dies at the end, right? Doesn't he get?
Who can say?
Let me check.
Does he get electrocuted? Is that what I'm thinking?
I think he
crashes
he explodes the helicopter into the power lines. But he
okay. He gets Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh, spoilers.
Too soon.
Oilers.
We cannot talk about this.
And by that I mean crashing and burning. No,
get into it.
Oh, I see.
I was literally I was in the middle of saying we can't do this on the show. We will get into a fight, and you then brought up the fighting words.
No, I just mean the fact that there's something with power lines and a fight that happens.
No, I remember what you're talking about. You killed me.
I had to.
I also want to mention, since we're still sort of at the beginning here, the Batmobile.
The Batmobile
is the broadest car I have ever seen drawn.
It is so much car.
Yes. And this is in the Cadillac age. Right. I remember that, I mean, I don't know what it is. Like a lot of manga artists in the 60s draw cars like they are boats.
Yeah. I was thinking this can't handle well. It like definitely just skids on every turn. Right?
But apparently it's powered by radioactive fusion or something.
Apparently. Everything is.
Is that a thing? Is that a thing in the original Batman?
I don't think so. I could be wrong, though. There are many things that are things. It's impossible to keep track.
And then the next villain is the ugly dude, right?
Yeah, the Dr. Faceless.
Dr. Faceless, who wants to get rid of every face.
The ray gun that can make old women sexy again. Which old women can be sexy.
Absolutely.
Jiro Kuwata, come on.
Yeah. Well, is that Jiro Kuwata or is that his depiction of evil?
True.
Are we seeing his morals or his lack of we don't know.
Right.
We will never know.
We will never know.
The machine explodes and they're like, oh no, he's ugly. Let's inform the police.
There is a lot of we need to inform the police about absolutely no crimes in this. That happens multiple times.
With this villain, everyone's like, he's crazy.
I love it. Yeah, and Commissioner Gordon is not named until the 5th or 6th arc of whatever villain.
I definitely did not know that was supposed to be Commissioner Gordon.
Right. He had
tiny...
a different title too. It wasn't commissioner, it was sergeant or something.
Sergeant, yeah. Which is interesting because Commissioner Gordon is not even in the Adam West. So I thought it was interesting that they pull that character from comics, but then it's not him totally.
Yeah, well, there is. I'm certain that there's, especially with the presence of Lord Deathman, there is a comics influence. Jiro Kuwata and his team were undoubtedly familiar with the original comics. The police just kind of this guy goes nuts, and the police are like, well, man, that sucks.
And
face melted.
The whole deal is. Supposedly is set up to be that his face is ugly, so now he must destroy faces, which is it ends up being a fake motivation, obviously, but it is the funniest fake motivation.
Yeah, that plot twist was so weird.
It was.
I loved it.
I loved it too, where he was like, "I'm not actually crazy. I'm pretending to be crazy."
That would be fun. The fact that they were like, "Oh, he's actually someone else we've never heard of." I was like, He could have just been pretending to be crazy.
There was a lot. This was an interesting comic in that it like really tries to do the detective Batman thing, like he's solving crimes, but they do not give you the clues ever, like at any point where you could possibly solve it with him.
Yeah, there are a lot of leaps in logic, so to speak here.
The stuff he figures out sometimes I'm very entertained by, or he'll be in the Batcave and he's like, I took a photograph, this is later, but I took a photograph of this villain and I figured out what the material was. And I was like, how?
Right.
Science, well, it's like all the crazy, like the crazy science fiction, like,
yes.
You know, we go from you know, this guy, the Dr. Faceless, getting his face melted because his experiment gone wrong. Oh wait, no, just kidding. He's a thief,
dude.
that has
the explosion because it had happened to someone else before, and like he bait and switched that.
Yeah, and so he did, and like he doesn't kill the doctor. He tries to kill the doctor as well with like the most hackneyed, I mean, there's a lot of hackneyed schemes in this.
Yes.
Yeah, like it was silly, but it was like I felt like it was supposed to be silly. So
yeah,
it's delightful.
Yeah.
This is delightful. The adventure where they capture him using a swing for no reason. That is just there for no reason.
When he catches him, he goes, "You're facing life in prison."
Yes. Do they have, okay, remind me again, in the original Batman, do they have a UFO that they fly around in?
In Adam West Batman?
Yeah.
I feel it doesn't look like this. I'm gonna look it up real fast, but
it's a helicopter. It just
it is a helicopter
kind of because he hangs out of it and the shark gets him.
Yeah. Yes. This one does look very UFO-y. It's strange.
I will say that if you are coming into this comic and you're a Batman reader, if you're familiar at all with Batman through movies or the shows, or you know, any of the recurring villains other than Lord Deathman, who we've all know and love.
Of course, yes, the infamous Lord Deathman. Everyone's favorite.
Yeah, everyone's favorite Lord Deathman. King, Lord, Emperor, Death.
His Majesty of Death.
He reminded me of is it Conan the Barbarian that has the
yes. Like, no. You're thinking of He-Man.
He-Man. Oh, Skeletor.
He-Man.
Yes,
Skeletor.
yes. He does. He's
very Skeletor.
Yeah.
But yeah, none of your favorite villains. There's no Scarecrow. There's no Joker. As far as I know, like this is only volume 1, and I am just starving for volume 2 at this point.
Yes.
But yeah, the villains are all made up.
Yeah. Delightfully so.
Yeah. So like, okay, so we have Dr. Faceless.
Yes.
Then we move on
to
the human ball.
The human ball.
This is the one I was talking about where he figures out his suit by taking a picture of it somehow.
I actually thought this was a cool villain.
Yeah, no, I mean he was also just like really interesting because he was just some dude trying to show off.
Yes,
that's it.
100%. I love this throughout this whole volume until we get to the final adventure, which I have many a thought on. Nobody really has superpowers; they just have gadgets.
Yeah,
which is interesting and kind of a fun dynamic. Or they have gadgets or yoga abilities, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, we're still in like conceptual science fiction here, you know.
Yeah, I mean, this suit is definitely like, how does his body do that though, is the question.
How does it absorb impact?
How indeed, but it's great. He reminds me a lot. There's another character that's sort of in the same vein that is in the comics more frequently, Boomerang, whose entire power is like very successful boomerang throwing. But much like that character, this character is probably one of the darker ones in this volume, where he like really beats the shit out of them repeatedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He like brutalizes Robin. Batman gets shot.
Yeah, he's like so violent and aggressive, and he's just like a ball.
Yeah, he just bounces. And it's not like he turns into a ball. He just like, gets into fetal position and bounces off of shit. Like he's
he leaves Batman a note challenging him to fight him, to meet him in the Taco Bell parking lot, basically.
Yeah, behind the monkey bars, and we're gonna fight.
So good. It's so good.
There's a lot of great 60s, like classic 60s architecture and like style in this. It's subtle, but it's there. Like you have like there's this bit where they're in the museums, and there are these like crazy chandeliers that look like so space age, and it's a big in Japan in the 60s, especially because of that whole the pop culture, like a big sci-fi pop culture element that was going on. You had that Tomorrowland feel, everything, and it does have that, like you look at it and you smell the lacquer of the wood.
It's also very bright. I mean, this is true of Adam West Batman as well. It's like very bright. There's a lot of light. This is the only Gotham that has good lighting.
Yeah, and a monument of Batman
monument of Batman.
To come back to the Bruce and Dick being a little gay, there's the line from Bruce where he asks, Robin, what do you make of the human ball's elasticity?
Tell me about that ball, Dick.
Yeah. What do you think of the human balls, Dick?
Say, where does the punctuation go there?
I feel like this was way earlier on, but there's a scene too where they're like on a beach together and they're very tiny babies.
Yes, that's vacation.
It's just like, and it's just so gay. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no other words for
a dad and his twink,
Oh,
a daddy.
Oh no.
Yep. I've seen that movie.
I mean, yes.
Call Me by Your Batman.
I've seen that anime.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, Yuri on Ice. What can we say?
Right. On a more serious note, the parallel of Robin over Bruce in the alley when he got shot, I thought was really cool. Kind of like when Bruce's parents got shot.
Yeah.
That is a really good point. I didn't even catch the parallel. That's
and I don't know if it was deliberate, because the beginning of this comic is you get Batman Chapter 1, Lord Deathman, and then welcome to the jewelry show. Bruce Wayne and Dick Willie Johnson are in the the audience, and they're like, this looks cool, and then stuff happens, and then they go like change, they do their transformation.
Yes.
In the same room with each other.
Yes, this is true.
So that's a thing, I guess. And then then they become Batman and Robin. That's all you really need to know. They do.
Yeah, there's no backstory at all.
Yeah.
Ever, at any point.
There is one panel where they show their faces with and without the mask, and been like, okay, so Batman, here's a Batman and here is a Robin, and that's who they are. And here's Lord Deadman. And then there is a certain amount of like narrative, like panels and stuff. But so you would not know reading this comic that Batman had any sort of tragic past.
Yeah.
But certainly there is tragedy in the present. People die and they have blood and stuff.
People die quite frequently, actually.
And the biggest tragedy that they dressed that gorilla in that outfit.
Oh my god.
I think that gorilla dressed himself in that outfit.
Also a tragedy that nobody taught that gorilla.
Well, what size pants do you think he wears? Pretty big.
Yeah, where did he get that outfit though?
It was so
many
funny.
questions. The whole gorilla adventure is wild.
Yeah, basically
the one right after. That is the one right after.
Yeah, that's our next one. It is Gorilla Grodd. It is 100% Gorilla Grodd, which I don't know.
My clever segue into this next chapter.
I'm gonna have to look up when Gorilla Grodd came around, because I think it might have been later than this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was like, well, this is Grodd from The Flash, basically.
Right.
The Revenge of Professor Gorilla.
Yeah. Oh, Professor Gorilla.
I have a note I'm reading, and I don't remember writing it.
Okay.
So we're gonna experience this together.
Sounds great.
I find it interesting that he said he was going to take Batman's quote powers.
Yes.
His intelligence is his power here, but we don't usually think of it that way.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. So the gorilla was going to take his powers, but kind of he didn't actually take it. He just also had it, which I thought was interesting. So I was waiting for Batman to no longer be intelligent, and it didn't actually happen that way at all.
Yeah, it wasn't like a switcheroo thing. Like you would just basically share each other's like best qualities, which in the gorilla's case was, deduction, or I should say Batman's case was deduction. The gorilla's case was super strength.
Yeah, he didn't think that plan through very well, did he? He was like, I mean, also give you super strength in the process.
The humanification ray or whatever gave the gorilla super. Now, here's the thing.
Yes, please. Give me the thing.
So the gorilla would get powers from the human, and the human would get powers from the gorilla. So this is a very, very rudimentary explanation of this professor's plan to make himself more athletic by science fiction magic-ing the powers of animals
right
himself. So he's sort of like Condor Man or whatever.
Yes.
Or Brave Star, where he's got like the heart of the lion or heart of the cougar and the eyes of the eagle and whatever. But he fucks up his machine, so he gets the gorilla's strength, but then the gorilla gets his power, but it was like, I guess, full blast or something. So not only did the gorilla get human like cognitive ability, but also telepathy.
Right. Did he previously have the power of telepathy?
I don't know. Like,
because that feels like the headline, right? Like,
yeah, like
telepathic professor gives gorilla telepathy. Right?
Yeah, like the professor's like, okay, the gorilla is mind controlling me with telepathy that I gave him. Like, dude.
Yeah, how did you?
My biggest thing here is the man proves he is like normal again because he, I think, cuts himself with a stick he had in his jail cell. I don't know how he had a stick in there.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, where did he have that previously is the real question.
Well,
how did he smuggle that in there?
I don't think anybody was checking. Although there was the whole thing about like, I love the whole bit where Commissioner Gordon's like, Professor, there's this killer out, and the professor's like, it's me, and it takes like several tries the professor to convince the commissioner. Like the commissioner's like, nah, you're a little twig boy, Twiggy. You can't kill anybody.
Yeah. Yes, the commissioner was not at his tip-top shape in this adventure.
Yeah. But
how would we know it was him? It's not like he confessed.
Yeah, well, he managed to use the incredibly powerful, convincing evidence of arm wrestling.
That was great. I do love a detective skill that is just, okay, prove it, arm wrestle me.
They say he can do whatever a gorilla can, and I was like, this sounds like Squirrel Girl. Like,
yes. Oh, if he had only used a squirrel, he would have won.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have to worry about the squirrel getting into this. Like, okay, so this gorilla is the most terrifying gorilla that I've ever seen in my life. Like, I've seen a lot of crazy apes in comics, but this gorilla and its like blind eyes and its evil smile,
Yes.
It's the outfit that does it for me.
Yeah.
Just knowing he's under there.
And it's just like
it's like actually horror movies when you can't see the ghost. It's scarier. It's like
yeah, Like, it's actually, I think, one of the most powerful superhero outfits I've seen.
It's very effective.
Because he's got this kind of big like Hulk body, but he's just got a shroud.
He's got a tablecloth over him.
Yeah, and it's just him, his like giant monolithic body with the shroud, and then this cowl over his head where just his eyes, like he looks like a cryptid.
He does, yeah.
I will say possibly my favorite part of this whole book is that this story ends with Batman saying something along the lines of like, Robin, we need to treat everyone with compassion and kindness, even gorillas. Well, flashback like 5 panels ago, we have Batman going, you stupid gorilla.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no wonder he hates humans. Like, it's like, I feel like it's unintentionally funny, but it just made me laugh so hard.
Well, it's such like a knowing is half the battle thing.
It is. It was very much like a special episode, look straight to camera. Okay, kids, remember, I know we just showed like an entire adventure where we pummel a gorilla for like pages and pages, but you should respect animals.
Right?
Yeah.
Stupid gorilla. Gosh. And then finally, we can get to Go-Go the Magician.
Go-Go the Magician! Is Go-Go the Magician the gayest character we've talked about on the podcast, TJ?
Well, my question is he the sexiest? Or is he both?
He is both. Why not both?
First of all, it's Go-Go, not Cry Cry.
That was so funny.
Oh, Go-Go. No, he's so happy to be a villain. It makes him so joyful.
I was definitely attracted to Go-Go the Magician.
Of course you were.
He has, I mean, his fashion on point. That
his
belt,
hair, his
hair's great.
Yeah,
I have to segue here.
Please.
Hair in manga, always. This is a manga tradition. In the 60s and the 70s, manga hair didn't have the same kind of variety.
Yeah.
As we have now. You know, you don't have that whole thing of here's the main character, spot the main character, the person whose head looks like it's on fire in neon, you know, or, you know, the person has the most unique silhouette that anybody could come up with because they, you know, broke a glass and then spray painted through it or something. This, I mean, the character's hair compared to that in this comic is reasonable, but the hair that you get in some of these comics is fantastic. It is voluptuous.
Yes.
It is, you know, I guess I said voluptuous. It is full-bodied. It flows. It maintains a beautiful shape. Bruce rocks this kind of pompadour almost.
Yes.
And Dick has these very beautiful sculpted bangs, which create a wonderful like black silhouette around his boyish face.
Bruce had that Freddy from Scooby-Doo hair going on.
He did.
But just with most, like, you think about, that's a good point, because you have the characters from Scooby-Doo, like you have the Hanna-Barbera characters, and then in manga just scale their hair up like 50% at least.
Can we talk about Batman mansplaining flying? Because Robin's like, he's flying, Go-Go's flying, and Bruce is like, actually, he's just using wind to like...
He does that so often in this, I feel like. He's every other second that Dick says anything, Bruce is like, actually, here's why you're wrong.
Yeah.
He's just jealous.
He is.
I do love the Batman, there are letters in the sky. And... By the way, it's Japanese, but it's just really funny because, you know, we're assuming because this is Gotham that we are in, we're not in Japan, but, you know, because of it's Japanese readers, of course, you know, labels and stuff are going to be in Japanese. But this panel where Dick is pointing and Bruce is like, you mean that? And
it's so good. No, he meant the other letters.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it's not like wait until dark or something simple. It's like this entirely long sentence, like a paragraph of information that he writes in the sky.
It's it's really good.
I really thought the book was going to go to Japan at one point. I'm surprised it didn't.
I did too. Yeah, I actually thought it was set in Japan for a little while, and then I was like, wait, no, I don't think it's supposed to be.
Right. I assumed it would be, but quickly realized it didn't. And then when they were like, let's go on vacation, I was like, all right, here we go.
And then no. I do love that Go-Go has this like weather control stick that is basically the weather wizard from Flash. And I love it. It's good. It's the exact same. TJ, I don't know if you remember the Flash pilot, but this scene, I was like, did they read this comic before they made the pilot for the Arrowverse Flash? Because
so many episodes ago.
Well, fair. Many years ago, but
I'm Googling that. I gotta see.
The Weather Wizard is a character in the comics, but it's just the way that this like unfolds toward the end with the tornado is the same as the pilot for Flash, and I can't get past it.
Weather Wizard first appeared in December 1959. So according to
so they would have been simultaneous. That's one of the things about DC Comics, Marvel too, where there's just so many villains that are the same character, and they never do condense them into one. They just all exist.
Yeah, I mean, there's the what is that? The 12th monkey or whatever. Learns the we all have it somewhere in our brains, and then like
oh yeah. So you're suggesting that we all have Batman villains in our brains just waiting to come out?
Yeah, it's all part of the genetic programming of all the different possibilities. Like
somehow, but Batman villains only.
Yeah, but it's an instinct. Well, maybe not just Batman villains, but like we all have that idea. Like, what if we could control the weather using this stick and a belt?
Yeah, fair enough.
But you need that high collar because of the high winds.
Yeah, the high collar is important. It's essential.
And what did you guys think of the last story about the mutant stuff?
This was the only one I was just like, okay, I'm done now.
I was excited because, I love me some X-Men. So I was like, oh, mutants, okay.
And then it was not that at all.
No.
Yeah, it was
so dark.
So dark. So bananas. Also, this mutant design.
Yes.
Kind of great.
Yes.
But also, of course, that's what mankind would evolve into.
I said he turned into Jean Grey if she were a furry.
Yeah, what would be her persona though? Like, what is that thing?
I don't know.
I mean, Phoenix is right there. It's right there.
Yeah, there is a Phoenix there. And then the head is kind of anglerfish cat.
I can't. I do love that they're implying this is a step up. This is where we're headed.
Yeah.
I kind of love that there's this completely inexplicable part at the beginning where there's just what appears to be a Batman fanboy drawing what he thinks humans will become.
I think that's supposed to be Jiro Kuwata in the flesh there.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So I was correct then. Yeah.
So yes.
I like how Batman is like, this guy couldn't be a criminal. I went to college with him.
I can't imagine being that sure about someone I'd been to college with that long ago. I feel like there's plenty of people I'd be like, sure, that makes sense.
And here's the thing. Did he go to college with him as Batman?
I hope so.
Because otherwise, giving some shit away there.
I hope that Batman was in costume in class, just mansplaining to his poor professors.
As much X-Men that this wasn't, it did have the Last Stand vibes when they gave him the choice to get rid of his gene or not. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did almost do a lot of things.
They did almost do a lot of things. That's such a good way to put it.
In the same way as The Last Stand, it had a lot of potential.
I also just loved there was just some wild character beats in this one throughout. I feel like the wildness was reserved to characters' motivations and such. The scientists, which I have a lot of questions about how the science community works in Gotham based on this comic.
All these scientists have had so many grants. Each of them has their own institute.
They all do.
Like,
and they're like, we are totally fine with this completely untested human experimentation. Then his daughter shows up and they're like, wait a minute, maybe we need to
damn it.
All these old white men are like, fuck this kid.
They're like, he has a daughter? We can't go through with this. We were fine with killing him when we thought he was a lonely man.
Apparently
they wanna
nobody knows anything.
Not right away. When she first comes in, they don't know yet. They're just like, oh, a daughter. This changes everything.
I'm sorry. I was just saying they want to kill her later. Yeah. I was like,
yeah, pretty much immediately. Which is also, this is my very important question about the science community in Gotham. I don't think science boards can just decide to murder people. They were just, they have a meeting, they take a vote, and the vote comes down, they're gonna murder her.
Yeah. Like,
and Batman gets this call on the phone, and he's like, oh no, the science community has decided murder.
I think this is really telling about what's going on with the science community, why all this money is involved here. You know, follow the follow the trail. But
there's some dark dealings happening in Gotham's science community.
Well, and lest we forget that this guy who Batman went to college with is also the mayor.
Right. But nobody knows anything about his life somehow.
Yeah, he's kept that daughter thing like on the DL.
Right. Was she a disgrace? Like, what happened?
This guy, so the mayor of Gotham City has suddenly this inexplicable that itself inexplicable urge to expose himself to radiation. And then they find out that he can mutate and become like the next step of humanity.
But it's all just like one organ, which is fascinating too.
Yeah. And so he's like, okay, I'm the mayor of Gotham, and you know, we're on the cusp of a great discovery. We can we can unveil these mysteries of mankind, and you know, as a leader, it's my responsibility to take this seriously. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna do it now. Batman, if I'm evil, you gotta shoot me with this cockamamie bananas ray gun.
Right?
That is radio powered, apparently.
This is the wildness of the character beats of this, where, you know, Batman famously will not kill people with a gun, you know, kind of a thing for him. Will not kill people at all, especially, but he's like, okay, I guess I will shoot my old friend with a giant laser beam if I must.
Can either of you explain to me how they beat him? Because my takeaway was they just figured out his least favorite color.
Yeah, well, that was one of those leaps of logic where that was just one of the more crazy ones in the entire of this entire series of adventures.
I'm glad to know that nobody understood what happened, because I was just like, did my brain just give up? Because I was like, I don't know, something color theory, something right. Over.
So apparently he could only use his power when the color green was present, or maybe it was his weakness. I don't know. But colors were important, and therefore they used colors to kill him.
How wild was it when they were like, she is also not a mutant anymore because colors.
Yeah, you used the green ray.
I was like, I thought this was the step up in human development, but apparently we step up into being able to be completely taken down by a different shade of color.
Well, that's the next step, is like taking aesthetics so far that we are physically affected by them. That's the takeaway of being, you know, so mentally attuned to everything that yes, you can teleport. Yes, you're telepathic and telekinetic. But if the room is tacky, it destroys you.
It's real. I will say, you know, before we move on too far into this one, I did love that this is the first ever Batman comic I've ever read where someone was taken to a therapist to just see if they're okay before doing anything. I was like, oh, that's actually really nice.
Yeah.
They drive him to a therapist's office. Mind you, that therapist is questionable, but they at least do. Like, they don't immediately send him to Arkham Asylum or, anything wild like that, or immediately punch him in the face. They're like, what if therapy?
Yeah, they take their PhDs seriously in this world, which I think is,
nice.
The hope that this Batman
nice.
could probably bring us in this time of woe.
Yes.
And how did they get that 2-ton titanium steel ball in that room?
No idea. Also, again, I know my brain was really cutting out at this point because this story was not working for me, but was it just me, or did they barely do anything to warrant the level of, like, they are so evil, we must eliminate them from the earth?
What, the humans or the mutants?
The mutants. I know that the daughter did nothing, but I didn't even think the father did that much, and they immediately were like, he is a monster. We must destroy him.
He just said shit. Like,
he was a little salty, but like
yeah.
They just went from honestly, it read like, he is ugly now, we must kill him.
I mean, that's sort of a theme.
It's true. The fate worse to death in Gotham is having a slightly ugly face.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about the history of Gotham villains,
it's true.
Two-Face,
we're looking at you.
Yeah, Two-Face.
Hey, speak for yourself. I'm Two-Face trash.
We know you are.
Well, Two-Face. Well, I do like Two-Face though, but
I do too. I'm not insulting him. I just think it's interesting that having something happening to your face immediately makes you evil in Gotham City.
Yeah, and that was I don't think that was the original Joker story, but that certainly was the story in the movie.
Yeah,
in Tim Burton.
Oh, in that one too. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because he fell in a vat of something and made him.
No, yeah, it's not
smile.
Generally in the comics. Joker thinks he's stunningly handsome in the comics.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't have to be hideous.
No.
How did you guys feel about them just blasting off his body into outer space? At the very, very end.
I think that's some sort of like eldritch horror shit that is definitely going to come back and bite them in the ass.
Right? I was like, how is this a good idea? They have this like unintentionally ominous line of like, he's watching over us now. And I was like, no.
What would you guys rate this volume? 1 out of 5 batarangs?
12.
Honestly, like, yeah, all 5. It was pure delight. Like, it was just so fun.
I will say, if you're a hardcore Batman fan and you're also a hardcore, like, if you're into Grant Morrison, I don't know, this also may, like a Batarang, come back around. It's brilliant. Especially how like meta Grant Morrison likes to get. But if you're looking for a hardcore like mystery, this is not it.
No.
This is Hanna-Barbera cartoon level of storytelling, and that in and of itself is a delight.
If you've gotten lost in the DC like extended universe and feel like your brain is ready to explode trying to make sense of canon and just want a full restart, like a hard restart, this comic is that.
Yeah.
Just fully restart your brain with this. Restart your heart, start over. Just
restart your heart.
Restart your heart with the Batman.
I feel like a downer because I only gave it 4 batarangs. But like,
you always do this, TJ, where you're like, I'm gonna be so much harsher, and then you're just one lower.
There was nothing wrong with it. It was a fun time, but there wasn't like any meat to it for me to.
Yeah, I feel I tend to do. I always have this trouble with rating things when it comes to this, because if you look at my like Letterboxd, I watch a lot of Hallmark Christmas movies, and sometimes they are rated higher than the actual Oscar award-winning movies I've watched, not because they're better. I'm not insane, but because I just loved it and I'm rating it in my head on a fully different metric than other movies.
Yeah.
This is how I feel about this. Like, is this one as good as Detective Comics by, James Tynion? Of course not. Did I still give it a 5 as well? Yes.
And
Yeah,
you
this
are
is all
entitled
carbohydrates.
to that.
I mean, if you want to eat cake, if you need something with protein, don't rely on this.
No.
Read your gritty Batman comic. I don't know. The Batman comic that happens.
I know the one.
Yeah. Read that. And then if you want some dessert,
yes,
just detach yourself completely from any idea of getting nutritional value.
Yes.
And just dig in.
Now, my final question for you, who was your favorite villain?
That's a tough one.
I've already said that Lord Deathman is my favorite, and I stand by it. He slayed me. Pun intended.
I think Dr. Faceless. Because his whole that whole story was so ridiculous that it was just some other guy the whole time. That it was just this other asshole being like, all right, I duped everybody by going nuts and destroying a bunch of artifacts that actually I didn't destroy, but I swapped them out first.
Amazing.
That was just layers upon layers, like an onion. Visually, of course, Go-Go is the best. That's subjective. That's not subjective.
He's my pick. I gotta go with Go-Go.
Yeah.
There's that panel where he's bent over the wire.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought of you when I saw that.
Yeah, he had those lanky legs.
TJ is in delight.
I mean, he is definitely my type as well. Pop collar.
Yeah. I'm a simple man. I'm easy to please. Just give me a twink with great hair.
Yeah. He would be the best to drink with too.
100%. He's so charming. All of these other guys would be insufferable.
Yes. Especially the gorilla.
Deathlord just dying after every shot.
Yeah. Hey, Deathlord, do you have the
Oh man,
Shit.
Again.
So Emily, we ask everyone that comes on our podcast the same question, which is if you had the opportunity to tell any story with Batman or a Bat family character, what would your story look like?
Well, I actually thought about this one because I was doing research before the show, and I was like, I listened to some of the other episodes, and I thought, oh God, what am I going to think? So I actually come prepared this time.
Yay.
So what I would love to do is some kind of Batman Gargoyles crossover.
I love it.
It would be the Gothic urban Gothic structure of the Tim Burton Batman, or I should say no, more like the Bruce Timm Batman. The Batman animated series really encapsulated that Art Deco Gothic quality. And then the fantasy, the urban fantasy element of Gargoyles, which doesn't really go nuts with the magic, but is a little bit more in the Neil Gaiman area of fantasy, where you have
Avalon and Arthur myths and stuff like that.
Yeah, where you have these homages to established stories in various mythologies that really have a lot of equivalencies, these archetypes, I should say, that are present in both stories, both in Batman and in Gargoyles, and a lot of, and there would be a lot of black a lot of night scenes.
Everything's dark. There's lots of shadows and brooding.
Yeah. But more of a textured world than perhaps the Bruce Timm is very stark, but I would probably do something more gritty, but also fanciful.
I feel like this could really exist though, just because of the Batman TMNT book and the guy that made Gargoyles made Young Justice. So like, I feel like it's a very possible thing. I want to see it.
I can imagine Xanatos and Bruce Wayne sort of interacting somehow.
Ooh, like rival businesses, maybe.
Yeah, because that's the whole thing in Gargoyles. Xanatos spends like some of his immense fortune to resurrect the gargoyles so he could like be their buds or something. I mean, I would.
Who wouldn't? They're wonderful. I will say, you know, I think I've before also said that that Gargoyles is one of my favorite adaptations of Batman, because it's really true. I feel like it more effectively does the Bat family dynamic than most adaptations do, where there is that like real community quality to the Gargoyles story that doesn't usually get into the adaptations, that is very much so a part of the comics. So I love it. That is a great pitch. I'm here for this.
All right, Jordan Peele, if you're out there. I know you like Gargoyles. I do too. We have a lot in common. we should hang out. I'll buy you dinner and we'll talk shop.
Somehow convince DC Comics and Disney to allow you to make something joint in those universes.
Yeah. Disney. Well, you know.
And where can our viewers find you on social media? And do you have any projects they should be looking out for?
Yes, I'm on Twitter at Megamoth. I'm Megamoth, Megamoth, pretty much everywhere except for Instagram, where there's an underscore between Mega and Moth. I'm currently finishing up the last volume of PRINCELESS, which should be out mid-2021, hopefully. That's, you know, you heard it here first, folks. And you know, it also depends on the universe and how that's going. But yeah, I work on PRINCELESS with Jeremy Whitley. We're co-creators. I do the art. He does all the cool story bits, tells me what to do, and I do the thing. And I also have a lot of freelance work that I do. And of course, I'm over on Progressively Horrified pretty often. So is Chris, and also TK. So, but yeah, so Megamoth, and I'm on Megamoth on Patreon as well. So, I do have a $1 tier. Come on in.
Thank you so much, Emily. This was a blast.
Thank you. This was indeed a blast.
Yeah, it was good to finally talk to you.
Next time, we will be reading Batman / Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by James Tynion IV.
Woo! I have not consumed any turtle media in quite a while, but I'm excited to get to this one. And joining us is Professor Kyle Meikle from the University of Baltimore. He specializes in adaptations, and he is all about the crossover of franchises. So I'm so excited to talk to Meikle.
Yeah, this is going to be a great time. The Ninja Turtles are a fun story, and I can't wait to see what it's like when they cross over with Batman.
We'll see how it goes.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Gotham Outsiders. You can find me, Chris, on Twitter at The Myth of Psyche, where I talk about feminism, queerness, and frequently Batman. And you can find my co-host, TJ,
at Troyfin2 on Twitter, where I talk about all things book related and occasionally Batman related, although a little bit more frequently nowadays.
And you can find Gotham Outsiders on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at Gotham Outsiders, where we talk about Batman all the time. So join us next time, same bat time, same bat place. Hey Outsiders, we have some exciting news. That is right, we have gone from just being on the Tim train to being certified Tim Drake simps. What did we win, TJ?
We won the DC Stan Award category for Best Tim Drake Stan Account.
Yay!
This was all because of you.
I've prepared my entire life for this. So
I can't believe we won. So I'll be honest, I nominated us because I thought it would be funny, but I didn't think they were going to allow it to happen because we're a podcast.
But apparently we simped so hard that
We did. I mean, once we got in, I was like, hey, go vote for us. And we won. I think we won by 3 votes. Like, there's enough room on this Tim train for everyone. And we can all share that trophy. But it is a nice feeling.
So go check out and follow the other winners, the runners up. They all have amazing Tim accounts. And if you love our simping, there is lots of simping to be had on Twitter.